Good morning. And when you watch this, it's probably not going to be morning, but it's morning for me. I'm drinking my coffee still, and I have no makeup on. I'm just sitting on the couch and thought I would post a video because something I've been thinking about a lot lately is what to do when you have surgery, how to recover from the surgical process after you've had colorectal surgery. And that is a big word to say when your coffee is not yet finished. Um, sorry, I'm just using my phone today because I wanted to get this up. I actually had a friend who reached out to me and said she had another mutual friend who was having colorectal surgery. So I hope that went well and wanted to just kind of give you a little breakdown of how my situation went. And I've also read a lot of blogs online. So it seems like my experience was pretty typical. So first off, with the prep, very similar to the prep that I talked about with getting ready for your colonoscopy. You're going to have to probably clear out, depending on, when I say clear out, of course, I mean clear out your bowels. For a bit beforehand, and that's going to completely depend on who your doctor is because different doctors are different. My doctor, my surgeon, he loves a clean bowel. Dr. Lega loves a clean bowel. So I had to prep for 2 days in advance. My surgery was on a Wednesday and my last food was on Sunday. I didn't eat Monday, Tuesday, just, like Jello, bone broth, stuff like that. And then Wednesday I went in and they did all of the usual things, the, morning prep of surgery. They had me wash with a very specific soap and cleansing bar, and the night before and the morning of, I had to take a magnesium solution from Walgreens, which of course did all of the things magical to making your excrement turn into very liquid formula coming out of your rectum. And all of that kind of lather, rinse, repeat. So going in, the only difference was the morning of, I did have to take a Ensure shake. It's like a pre-surgical shake, which is pretty much all sugar. The surprising thing for me, one of the things going into surgery is that hospitals don't seem to give a F about sugar and all of that stuff. And it's a little bit surprising because my whole life I really tried to be very fastidious about being healthy, keeping my weight off. And some of the foods that I got going into the hospital were not what I would call the most nutrient dense, but more on that in a minute. So you have to take an Ensure shake, and it pretty much tastes like it tastes like strawberry milk, but it's clear, so it's weird. Just drink it out of the bottle, whatever they give you. But it's essentially to prevent nausea, and then afterwards to help you not throw up, and help with recovery, afterward. That's what they say. I'm skeptical, but I'm also a rule follower, so I just did it. Okay, so I went in, they got the IV set up, you're in, you're out, you don't remember anything until you get into recovery. So I woke up briefly during recovery and then don't really remember anything until I was being rolled into my room, and then my mom and my husband were there waiting for me. Actually kind of funny because they're very different people. So I was like, kind of could sense that there was a little tension that they'd been in the same place together like all day long. God bless them both. Oop, phone call there and wardrobe change. So I was saying, when I got back to the room, my mom and my husband were there, and they pretty much left right after that. And I had, for the next few days, an experience of really just trying to deal with pain management and a couple key things that I thought I would share that people don't really tell you about. The first thing is, when you go through colorectal surgery, the number one thing you're going to have to do is pass gas. Yes, so everyone's gonna come in and ask you if you farted. They say, have you let gas, or have you had gas? They all wanna know about your gas. So that's the first step that they know that things are going in the right direction. The second is, then they of course want to know if you've had a bowel movement. So they're gonna monitor your bowels, they're gonna ask you all about it. So just so you know, no one talks to you about it before you go in, but that's part of the deal. In my experience, I was put on morphine as soon as I got out of surgery, and I was also given a second IV that was way up in, kind of almost like in my armpit, but was really attached to a main line. And they did that because they needed to connect me to a food bag, which apparently has to have its own line, because I didn't actually have any food or anything until about, I'm gonna say, 3 days after surgery. And then they can also take blood from that second line. So that's also really important. So instead of getting poked every day and getting your blood taken every day, they just go to the line. So just heads up there. So when they're managing your pain, you've got this nice little morphine drip they give you so you can give yourself, a certain amount. It's monitored, so it's not like you can just like morphine up. But one of the things that I noticed is that I had significant side effects from the morphine. So second morning I wake up, they get me up to get me moving because this is really important. And I noticed that I was feeling pretty woozy. They said it was likely just because the surgery had just ended, so we just kind of went with it. And I got up, got weighed, super fun, and then got back in bed. And the pain was really challenging. It was very painful to get up, and it was very painful to move. Over the next couple of days, I noticed that my vision was a little bit blurry and that I was starting to have hallucinations and nausea with the morphine. So as the days were going on and I started to kind of list off the symptoms and tell them kind of what I was experiencing, they switched my pain over to a different drug. So if you're having side effects with your pain, tell your treatment team so that way they can help you out. Like I said, also, I didn't eat for like 3 days. So I got in and I was like Ice Chip City from the time that I arrived until, I'm gonna say, like Thursday or maybe actually Friday, because I remember it being like 5 days that I didn't eat at all. So they had me on a food bag, just so that way my body could continue to recover. And then essentially what happened was they started to give me little like clear liquids. So clear fluids. So I had like broth and tea and things like that, Jello. So kind of like the same stuff that I had for my prep. And then what happened was, once I got to the point where I was actually able to start to poo, after I had gas, then I could have they gave me the liquids. And then after I was able to poo, then they gave me fluids and things like that that were actually colored and that, weren't clear. So like the soup that I had was like a creamy soup. They gave me like milk. In the morning, they gave me cream of wheat, a lot of different things like that. So I was in the hospital for a total of 5 days, and throughout that process, about every 8 hours, I got a shot in my belly to prevent blood clots. I had my blood taken on a pretty regular basis to check my blood sugar, and overall, just like round the clock care. And then ultimately, as I was able to get up more, and my nausea went away from changing the drugs, I was able to walk a little bit more, and that was an important factor in me being able to leave, was to get up and move. And so I left after 5 days. After surgery, I had both a catheter and 2 drains. And while I was in the hospital, they were able to remove 1 drain, but the second, and the catheter, but another one of the drains I actually brought home with me, which was a whole other fun experience. So you have to kind of clear out the drain multiple times a day. And the one thing I will say about this whole process is that as you are recovering, something I didn't anticipate was just the ongoing pain. Obviously having your colon like spliced up is going to present its own challenge. And even though you're on painkillers, as your body is trying to, take in food now and eliminate it, there was, for me, and was and still is, a lot of pain on an ongoing basis. So even times where I felt like I had to go to the bathroom, but I couldn't, my body was like creating all of these like sensations and like pushing and things like that, which created even more pain. So I think it's really important to understand that going into the recovery process, going home after surgery and dealing with the recovery process, you really need to have appropriate pain protocols in place. And you also need to have appropriate dietary recommendations in place. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because I asked for a lot of different recommendations from my oncologist and my nurse practitioner, from my surgeon, from my general practitioner. And because none of them are actually dietitians, they all kind of told me different things. So like my surgeon told me eat more foods with fiber, right? And then my nurse practitioner from my oncologist office told me something else, said, yeah, eat soft foods, eat things that are just like very gentle, no fiber, but just things that are easy to absorb and digest, like applesauce and smushy foods and things like that. So I would recommend to anyone something that, like, even in my own journey, I am still working on, is to see if you can get a referral for a dietitian. And I'm like in that process right now, because having to navigate all of this is really challenging. Because a lot of the recommendations that you get are things like just take laxatives or take stool softeners. And while those things are okay remedies for, and you know, they're for temporary use, ultimately, the reason why I believe the reason why I got colon cancer is because I was having digestive issues to begin with, and that I had a history of digestive issues and constipation and things that I had been having to use supplementation for years. So one of my goals in this process, as I am healing from surgery and preparing for chemo and just going through this total life transition, is that I know that my digestion needs to be the foundation of why I make the food choices that I make. For so long for me, it's been all about like aesthetics and how I look. And right now I'm just taking this time to make a massive change to focus on longevity and to focus on my digestion first and foremost. So I will share with you a little bit more about this as time goes on, but I wanted to do a video just to share about my surgery experience, because there was so much I didn't know, and there's so much that you don't know going into the surgery process, because there's just a lot to be involved with it. And so it's like the doctors and everyone, they tell you what you need to know, but then it's like as you go along, then you kind of learn a little bit more. So I hope this video was helpful. If you are interested in continuing to follow my journey, you want to see about what happens when I start chemo this week, then like this video, subscribe, and leave any comments below. I hope this was helpful. You guys have a great day, and I'll keep you posted on my journey. Till next time.